file information. Most of it is coming from basic file attributes class, which I showed you before, but additionally you can get information from the files utility class. So this is an example of the check for whether the file is writable. So if we run this example, it should show us whether our file is writable, and this is done right here, and it is writable. I decided to reorganize a little bit of this code just to obtain the file path and then invoke display file attributes, which is a method showing all of this information, and also a separate method to format the date and time, which I call from some of these output statements. So let's just run this to see how this works. Okay, so I just updated my output format, really nothing new. I'm still showing the same information about the file. And one more thing I would like to add to this method display file attributes is a check for whether this is a directory. So supposedly if this path is a file path, I can check whether it's a directory or not, and if it is a directory, then I'd like to print this indication next to its name. Then if I change this to point to a directory like this, okay, so just comment this. So this is a directory that we have right here, and we have a file here. So we save this and run. Okay, so it just displays that this is a directory. In fact, let me just remove the new line from this output over here. Okay, run again. Alright, so exist is a directory, and here we'll print a new line in a separate statement. Okay, I think this is the output that I'm looking for. Yes. Alright, so I'll just be showing files and directories in my output and showing some of these file attributes. The next thing that I would like to try is displaying files in a directory. So what I can do is comment out this call to display file attributes. Now I have this directory, and what I typically do in my code, I try something like this. Let me change the name here to a directory path, and we'll fix imports for the directory stream. Okay, so this looks good. So now again I'm pointing to a directory name does not exist. This is a relative path. It's relative to the current working directory, which is my project directory where the program starts. And I'm going to try to list files in this directory. Okay, let's save it and run it. And you can see that we now indicate that this is our directory, and the files that we have is one single file like this. Let me also try maybe my project directory, week 10. Right, so we have a couple of files right here and a list of subdirectories. So I'll just change this one more time. My path to point to the current directory. Just use the dot syntax to do this basic listing in my current directory. So I'm just going to save and run it. Okay, so here we're using a Java library directory stream class, which you need to instantiate by calling a new directory stream. And it gives me access to the collection of items in this directory, which of course will be other subdirectories and files. But in this program, I'm trying to skip any subdirectories listed here and instead just checking for a regular file. So with files utility, you can call isRegularFile method, and path will be our parameter. And so this is where we get our file names printing with this statement. So this was relatively easy, not so difficult. What I'm using in terms of the library is the directory stream, which we create right here. We also use, of course, files and paths, basic file attributes to display the output in display file attribute. Then we also have here date time formatter to make sure that we're using our local time zone when displaying the file time structures, and using a specific format that we like to apply when we're displaying days and times. Alright, so this is something that we can add to this display. So let's do this. So instead of just using this print statement, I'll basically call this display file attributes for the file path that we already have. Just copy the statement like this, and let's try this version. Okay, so we're now displaying two of these files, build and manifest XML, and so we're showing some basic attributes and whether they're writable. So the directory stream class is working well, but if the directory listing contains any subdirectories, how could we include and process them as well? This brings us to our next set of topics, the ways to recursively traverse or navigate through all nested subdirectories. Since we have a homework project programming assignment 7, finding largest file in a directory, including its subdirectories, I'm going to cover recursive directory processing in the upcoming videos for assignment 7 next week.